actually very excited about this panel as well. I think that even though while technical and legal preparation of the token offering is quite commoditized, so there are many solutions and quite clear guidelines on how to organize it, marketing is a real challenge. And it can make or break your offering or digital securities and any kind of digital assets. And there are so many ways that marketing does not work, and find the ones few that do work and allow you not to spend your money is just crucial. So waiting for the participants of the marketing panel to join. Oh, that's great.
Hi.
That we can see you.
It's 4 o'clock here in Singapore.
4 o'clock.
Good.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, you're in Singapore.
Oh, finally.
One of my favorite countries in the world. Hi, guys. I'm Jean-Michel. I run a cybersecurity company in the blockchain space and a little podcast called Blockspeak, in which we interview influencers from the blockchain space. Anyone from CZ to Roger Ver, John McAfee 3 times before he went to prison. And yet somehow he's still managing to tweet from there. I have no idea how. Anyway, that's me. So I think before we sort of get in and talk a little bit about STOs, it'd be nice if everyone can introduce themselves and just give us a quick 3 minutes each on who the hell you are and what it is that you do. I think just Anna's with us. Hi, Anna. How's it going?
Hello.
Hi,
I'm
Anna.
good.
Nice.
How is everybody?
We're good. We're good. You joined just in time for intros, actually, and so you're just about in time. So, in the interest of sort of maintaining some aspect of chivalry, which is probably long lost in the world, I think we're just going to start with some intros, and we'll begin with Jenny. So, Jenny, if you can just tell us a little bit about who you are and what the hell it is that you do and your relevance to the blockchain space, that'd be great for the audience.
Yeah, okay. My name is Jenny, and I am the co-founder of Blockcast.cc. We are a blockchain news channel, and we're based in Singapore. We have branches in China, South Korea, and also the Southeast Asia part. We help projects to raise money, to do PR, and also to help them to do the news release.
Okay,
Thank you.
Just a little bit about your personal involvement in that company. Are you in sales? Are you in marketing? Are you the CEO?
Oh, I'm the co-founder, and I also do some editing works. We are kind of like a news channel. We do news release, and all our articles are on Google
Perfect.
News.
Okay.
So we are a Google News.
So you're
source.
basically responsible for putting out fires in the business. Fantastic.
Sorry,
Sure.
I cannot hear you.
As a co-founder, you're basically
Okay.
responsible for putting out fires in the business, right? That's the sort of the main job. Okay,
Thanks.
so Artem, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Artem. I'm a founder at chainadoption.io. So my company just do the business development and service providing in directions of digital marketing and PR, tech development and outsource from Ukraine, and also consulting different kind of blockchain companies like exchanges or token issuers, helping them and advising with the whole strategy, like helping with exchanges, helping with the marketing strategy, and also with some valuable partnerships in the whole industry. So my role is global business development.
Okay, super. So basically, long story short, if I wanted to launch a token, you're the guy I'd come to speak to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, happy to see everybody here today. My name is Anna Tutova. I'm CEO of Coins.Telegram, and we have a group of companies. We are news media, and we provide the news on a daily basis. We have 2 websites in English and in Russian. And as well, we are PR agency, so we cooperate with a lot of different media and help companies with branding and getting more exposure in top business and financial media like Forbes, Entrepreneur, Finance, Yahoo, as well as crypto media like Cointelegraph and CoinDesk. Additionally, we help companies with development in different regions, like in Europe, in Russia, Latin America, Middle East, Asia. So basically, that's it.
Okay, so we have a nice, little interesting mix of people here, and there's of course Boris. I don't know if you wanna chime in here, Boris, or if you're gonna stay quiet. Boris?
I'll stay quiet and let you guys shine.
All right, cool. Let's do that. Okay. So here today we're gonna have a little chat about STOs. I'm going to assume for the most part that everybody in the audience is not an expert. So I think before even talking about like the marketing process of an STO, I think we should start with what is an STO and why does it matter? Jenny?
Oh, STO actually, STO is kind of like a stock, but I think like even for the people who work in this industry, we're not familiar with this concept. Most of the people in the crypto field, we're still investing on Bitcoin, Ethereum, those tokens, utility tokens, because we are facing some regulation problems. Like take Singapore for example. Singapore, we only have one exchange that can do the STO, and actually they are not really running the business yet. So it's a very new concept. Yes?
Absolutely. Artem, how would you define an STO, Artem? Why do you think it's important?
Yeah, actually, I believe that it's a great model, but because of the some issues with regulators in some specific countries, it's really like complicated to conduct a proper company and issue security tokens and find a proper investor for that kind of activity. So far on the market, I like Jenny, I only see that people only invest in utility tokens because it's much more clear for them how to raise money here, how to build the business, and so on and so forth, yeah. But from another point of view, for example, I believe in countries like Switzerland or Liechtenstein, it's much more easier to conduct an STO because people, like have a kind of like more clear understanding of how they can issue the security token there. So I believe it's just possible if you have like a proper company with big stuff and you can build a valuable coin and share among your company staff or company shareholders and allow them to like influence or earn while just holding or trading the security assets. So I believe it's just only possible if you have already established enterprise or something like that. So
yeah. Thank you, Artem. I appreciate that, Artem and Jenny. I mean, the thing about this industry is it's one, I think, with the most evolving set of jargon out of any industry I've ever worked in. So to you, me, and everyone else here, like the definition of STO is really, really simple. But I think one of the big problems with being in an industry which is based around tech and which evolves so quickly is it's our job to be able to translate what it is we understand in very simple words for people who aren't in the blockchain industry to be able to easily understand. So I'm assuming, Anna, this is, since you're in the sort of news section of this business, this is your speciality. So can you explain to our audience exactly what an STO is in the simplest possible way?
Yeah, STO is the same as public offering, but it's offering of digital shares in the company or, for example, in the real estate. And it considered to be easier and democratizing the access to the financial services to everybody. But this issue is well disputable because we face that in some cases only accredited investors can invest into STOs. So as well the easy access to such financial tool is not solved.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll just sort of chime in here and maybe like add my 2 cents in here as sort of like STO definition. So if I had to think about a very simple way to describe it, I'd say STO is simply the tokenization of an asset. Very, very simple. It's the process of grabbing an asset and linking it to a specific token which you create and dividing ownership of that asset into X number of tokens. That is the definition of an STO, I think in its simplest and most beautiful form. So let's move on a little bit and talk about sort of why STOs exist in the first place. Like why, and maybe before the reason why they exist, let's talk about the people who invest in them. Like what makes an STO investor different to the kind of person that invests in a standard company? Artem.
I believe it just could be more flexible for them because they can avoid a lot of, like a mess of paperwork, a mess of like third parties, companies that are helping usually investors during the whole investment process. Yeah, so basically digitalization and tokenization allows them to simplify and make the whole faster and more security, because everything will also, like be secured in blockchain technology if they're using it. So I believe just these are main, like key parameters that are given an advantage to this model of raising funds.
Sure. Jenny, do you agree?
Yes, I totally agree, and I think it lowered the boundaries of the fundraising. Like traditionally, only credit investors can invest on the real estate or those big projects. Like ordinary individual investors is very difficult, but through STO, like you can buy like $1 of a building, so you can buy a very tiny small share of a very big project, which is good for the individual investors. But I think it's a very good concept, but it's not that easy to do, especially nowadays. The financial regulations are tighter and tighter. We see big exchanges facing problems. BitMEX, they are under the investigation of SEC. And in China, the biggest under investigation, and the founders, they are under arrest. So it's not very clear yet. So I think we need to get through the regulation first, and then this STO thing can really develop overall.
Anna, what's your opinion?
Maybe not in a very short time.
Yeah, generally, the investors into STOs are the same as investors, for example, into real estate, so like into venture capitalists, who invest into some startups companies. But these people are like early adopters of blockchain, of crypto, and like supporters of the tokenization of real world assets, or as well crypto enthusiasts who invest into not only STOs, but as well like to popular crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or into utility tokens as well.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point which you touched on, Anna, just because as far as Bitcoin goes, and as far as sort of mainstream crypto goes, I mean, you have, at least in my opinion, I think you have two kinds of investors, right? You have companies like Grayscale, for example, sort of like financial institutions which are first movers, and then before that you have the nerds, right? People like us. That's kind of why we're here. I think that the one thing we have in common is we're all kind of crypto junkies and nerds at some kind of level, right? And is there, I think the main difference is we Bitcoin didn't really need any kind of marketing to be able to reach people like us, because it's just what we look for, right? But if we take real estate, for example, since this is an idea which everyone seems to mention, there are like set channels for how to market a property, right? I mean, there's in the UK, there's Rightmove. In the US, there's Zillow. You know, every sort of country has its own standard marketing channel for real estate. With STOs, the path isn't really that clear. So if I wanted to create an STO, let's say I wanted to tokenize the building I'm in and I want to sell it, what do I do, Anna?
So you just go to security token issuance platform. Like, for example, companies can partner with Stobox or like with Polymath, Securitize, right? Different such companies now, and so they can make the STO legally compliant, and they don't really need to have some technical knowledge because it will be done everything for them. And that's it. Like, if we're talking about real estate, a lot of real estate objects, they just tokenize the part, not the whole real estate. And a lot of people who do this, they just test this thing out, how it truly works.
Okay, thank you. Jenny, what's your take? How would you go about marketing an STO for a property versus actually selling a physical property, right? Because as we said, they're two completely different streams.
I had a few round of meetings with the real estate agents. Like they're trying to do the STO for their properties in Southeast Asia. They want to put it into like very small shares and sell it to a wider range of people. But until now, it's still a concept. Like I said, it's not that easy to proceed now in Asian market because all the Asian governments, they are quite tight and strict in this security market. So I don't know whether in other part of the world it will be easier, but till now, as far as I see, at least in the Asian market, we are not able to do that yet.
Sure. How about you, Artem? If a customer came to you and said, "Hey man, I've got this epic piece of real estate and I want to tokenize it." Let's assume that sort of the legalities were in place and you could get around the regulatory issues, because I'm confident that even without existing underlying infrastructure to regulate STOs, I still think there's ways to do it, which I'll maybe go into a little bit later. But how would you go about actually marketing the token and getting people to give you their money? Because that's what this is about. No?
Yeah, actually, it really depends on the target audience that we will choose. So it could be a regular investor. So, for example, just people who want to invest, I don't know, like $500 to $1,000, or it could be a kind of some bigger companies or venture funds who can invest much more. Yeah. So we first of all need to like decide who we are targeting for, and after like personally, right now, I'm thinking that it will be easier if the project really wants to raise funds. It will be much more easier to target these venture funds rather than regular investors, because regular investors always has, like a lot of consumptions because they're not really sure that they can, like there's a lot of so they sure that this investment will be a proper one. But with the venture funds, if you can bring like a proper legal documents and everything, it's probably much more easier to persuade them and persuade them to buy like some shares of this company. And like for this marketing strategy, the best way is to do a good brand awareness through some like trusted tier 1 media. and afterwards try to bring several angel investors who are popular among the investor clubs, you know. And once it usually works like that once people see some like familiar names, if they know these investors and they know that they're pretty successful, everyone just starting to put their money in. Yeah, and this is how it usually works, for example, in the US and probably other countries as well. So the best way is just to, you know, like build a proper network and build a proper brand awareness using some trusted media. So this is like step number one, yeah. And afterwards, once you will finalize this stage, I believe there is a way to make a kind of like crowd sale and target some regular investors who can just invest small amount of money, because you can already show them the big guys already in this game, yeah. And for this stage, you probably need to do like proper digital marketing and build like simply sales funnel for them, so they will, you know, like quickly understand and know the tutorial, how they can, you know, like research the needed information and how they can quickly get in using different like payment services. So basically there is a big work here, and you need to build everything in a proper way, starting from the like website, special design, SEO optimization to bring it to the top of searching engines, and afterwards take care of the social media and other channels. Put probably some call center or like account managers who will pick up the conversation and share all the needed information to the regular investors and describe them and explain how it works and how the process looks like. And afterwards, probably it could be done, but it definitely takes some time. Yeah. So for the story, I believe probably the like approximate timeline will be like 3 to 6 months in the best way.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that sounds like a long day at the office, I think, to say the least. And let's sort of take a step back there, because I think at the beginning of your point, you mentioned, you very rightly said, right, that the strategy for marketing and STO should depend entirely on whether you're selling, I don't know, like a massive tower to a B2B, or you're selling, you know, like a residential complex and you're selling individual shares at €1 or $1, for example. So let's use Jenny's example, because Jenny mentioned earlier that she was having a little chat with some investors, and she was talking a little bit about what an STO project may look like, even though it didn't materialize. Let's like hypothesize with that example for a second. So Jenny, can you, like, without mentioning any names maybe, or any roads or any projects, can you just give us a little bit of an example of what that specific STO looked like, so we can use it as an example based off that?
It's a Southeast Asia real estate STO projects, but it's still on hold because, like, first the company who issued the token must have the license, or it cannot be a small company. It have to be a big company. And second, there's no liquidity for the STO yet, because they also have a limit for the investors who invest in. They're like, the barriers are quite high, but you can get around it a little bit if you are not using fiat money. Like the investors, they invest in the STO token with maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum, then you can get around the regulation a little bit, but still is not very easy. So back to the project, they are thinking of like listing their coins, like maybe cut the one real asset to like 10,000 shares and put it on a STO exchange. You cannot list it on a like normal exchange. And for the STO exchange, they don't have the fiat channel, so they are still planning it, but it's been a long time.
That's fine. But
nothing came
I think
up really.
you've like answered what it is we were looking for. And if I may as well, just to sort of add to that, was there a part of that round which was private, or was the idea entirely public?
Oh, they are targeting two kinds of audience. First is the traditional real estate investors, traditional institutions, credit investors. For them, they are Yeah, and the other part is the crypto world. Those people who want to invest on coins, they're targeting these two types of people. For the credit investors and institutions, they are doing it in a traditional way. So you will be talking to their agents in a very traditional way. For the crypto market part, as far as I know, until now, you can only invest in crypto, not fiat money.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. No, that's a fair answer. So we're talking about a bit of a hybrid approach, basically, a little bit of a private raise and then a sort of a public acquisition, which is great. This is kind of what we wanted to get to. So Anna, if you had a customer that came to you and said, "Hey, listen, I have this epic STO project. It's not a scam, I promise you. How would you help me reach the public and maybe raise awareness about this project I'm trying to raise for?"
First of all, we should decide who is our target audience, and the marketing, the promotion of this or that company, or either this is real estate, should be, first of all, we should take into account what we market. And maybe we not even should stick a lot that this is exactly security token offering, because, for example, if real estate object is interesting to this or that investor, they may look into the ways of investing via STO as well. And as for security token offerings, we should educate more and more the public on such way of investing into digital assets. So we should first of all target the biggest channels, and of course as well, if, for example, if we go to some security token conferences, we see different crowd from the general blockchain conferences. We can see more banks interested in such kind of offerings. We can see more institutional investors, some traditional funds, and they are quite interested in this space. So if we talk about media, we should target the biggest ones, like, for example, Forbes, Bloomberg, CNBC, some other channels where there is audience who's looking for what is new on the market, etc. And of course, we take some crypto media with the biggest traffic, because they as well, if you make some posts, gets your company into the biggest outlets. Smaller outlets will just copy the news, and you will get some additional buzz as well.
Like a trickle-down effect, basically.
Yeah, and of course it should be a complex approach. We should use social media as well, video marketing, participate well at conferences.
So let me make this question a little bit more specific. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Anna, because I feel like I think one of the biggest issues with the blockchain world is ambiguity, right? Meaning we talk about a subject which is so vast and broad that we can't really give like an exact answer because there's so many possibilities here. So let's shrink this down for a second and talk about specifics. Let's use Jenny and Artem's example earlier for a sort of hybrid raise. Let's say we're talking about a private raise in the beginning, and then we'll talk about the latter public raise after that. So let's forget the public and talk specifically about the private here. So you mentioned, Anna, that people would like get stories in Forbes, for example, etc. So what I found is that whenever you're talking to anybody about any kind of blockchain investment, it's not like you're selling them like a piece of real estate. Let's be honest, right? If you wanted to go and like raise $5-10 million to build a building, it's way easier to do that without the idea of introducing an STO. Why? Because for the most part, it's an established industry. And within the STO world and in the blockchain world, it's so sort of small and tight knit that usually kind of most people in this space are sort of second and third connections on LinkedIn. Let's just kind of leave it at that, right? So with that in mind, I think it's pretty like it's a sort of known fact that or a sort of well hidden, well kept secret, or not so well kept secret, that if you want to get a story out in Forbes, you just pay $3,000 and you get that story. It's basically how it works, right?
No, it doesn't work this way.
Oh, come on. I mean, I'm not here to mention names or here to sort of call anyone out, but what I'm saying here is that if you go to an investor and you show them a story in Forbes and they're familiar with the blockchain world, aren't they going to say, okay, or the only thing it's telling me is you've got $3,000 to spend and you can write something which makes sense and like actually holds water. What do you say to that, Artem?
So as for publications, I mentioned I told we need to educate investors about security token offerings, because of course, as you told, that it's much easier to sell real estate without like in a traditional way. So we should use these channels to educate investors.
Sure. Okay, Artem, it seems like Anna really wanted to answer that question, but I'll give you a shot now. What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I believe if we want to use this kind of media and like use it as an additional tool to attract investors and persuade them to invest, basically we need to achieve a proper stage of the company development. Yeah, so for example, we need to show them traction. So if we can write in this article that we already collected like specific, like amount of money, and we already have such audience who are invested in us, and we are on this like progress, and we can, like explain and describe it in the article, and afterwards we can spread it out like around the globe, then it definitely can help. If we just will mention about the company, about its ambitions, it won't help. Definitely.
Sure.
So it just it doesn't make sense. So basically, all this PR and additional marketing is just additional tools that helping us to like persuade and attract more people and more attention. But first of all, we definitely need to use like our own network, or just attract a specific right people who will help us with introductions, rising funds, and etc. Because we need to build some traction before we go to the public, and we need to build something, definitely. But because if we just started doing simply marketing and PR, and we couldn't show them the traction, it just will be useless and pointless.
Sure.
Definitely.
So that's I think something really interesting which you mentioned, sort of the sort of differentiation between simple PR and smart PR, right? Because PR is a very, very broad spectrum, and there's many ways to do this. One great example I'd say is like, again, sort of touching on what you mentioned earlier, is you find like an accredited investor or someone that people look up to, and if you can sort of say that this person has invested in your project, then you're going to sort of gain some traction and gain some credibility in the market, and then maybe sort of that $3K spent on Forbes would be justified. But I think one of the biggest issues with that, and I think it's something we've seen like in recent times, right, when the Twitter hack took place, and we're seeing words being put in celebrities' mouths for sort of lack of better words. So I don't know. I'd say 1 in every 8 adverts I see on YouTube is Vitalik talking about something to do with Ether and some shitcoin link at the bottom that has nothing to do with Ether. So it's all well and good to have a sort of a big name on board, but how can we make sure that the public understands that's really the case and it's not a scam? Jenny, what are your thoughts?
Oh, like before you mentioned that if you give money, you use money, you can definitely get on Forbes. I kind of agree on that point. you're kind of right. If I see a project on Forbes, then although I have not decided to invest on them, but at least it shows that they have money, they have funds to run it for a longer time. Like you said, for individual investors, how can they know that this project is not a scam? They have no way to know. Like even for me, I work in this industry for years. Still, I got tricked by the scams. Like in this July, when DeFi is at the really high, like I invested in a few DeFi projects. They look really nice. They got this like a fantastic like team, and they got this like those words that you cannot understand, but that makes sense. Those kind of stuff on their white paper. I invest and I put into the pool, and like 1 week later, the whole pool is gone. Like even me, I work in this industry for years. I don't know how to recognize a scam. Like how can a just normal individual can recognize that? So I will suggest that you invest on those projects that run for long times, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like those kind of things. If you don't have the deeper knowledge in this coin, or you don't work for the projects, you just
Sure.
invest on the big names. And Bitcoin has been here for 12 years. And I think for projects, they should not waste money on PR or media before they get the idea, or before they know exactly what the regulation is. I would not suggest any marketing like things, those projects who want to do STO in Asian market, because that will be a waste of time, waste of money. Until this gray area is clear, until the whole regulation came out, until you don't have any risk, then I will suggest you to do the marketing, to do like everything you can to push it out. But before that, you have to like think really clear, not just because that you want to spend money or you want to try this new thing out, then you do it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Jenny. That was beautiful honesty, like just straight up honesty. I love it. Artem, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, actually, I absolutely agree with Jenny, because it's the right way. Yeah, and the only thing I wanted to add is, when you wanted to attract investments, people just, for example, start collecting some, like email addresses of VC funds, looking for some ventures, and trying, just to spam it and just continue emailing them and asking for money. And all these things, yeah. But the key thing is that if the venture fund wanted to invest, they already know what companies they wanted to invest in, and they got like dozens of such mails. And what is the sense for them to invest in a like no-name company where they don't know any kind of people behind the project, without any kind of experience and previous track record? Because they already know the companies that is growing and that are growing, and they know that it's worth to put some money there, and they're just trying to reach out these companies. So the best way to attract these people is, just to continue developing your company, and at the right stage, just open an opportunity for them to make this investment. So the key thing here is just to choose right time and build the company to the right stage, and afterward just give a tool to all these investors and let them come into. And afterwards, you can when the company grows, after you can just make an exit and collect your money. So this is how it works.
Yeah. So in summary, basically, Artem, is if you throw enough shit around, something's gonna stick. That's basically the summary. Like if it's a good project, right? Anna, what do you think about this? What's your how do you show the public that you have the right investors on board without ever sort of falling into a scam? Because like Jenny mentioned, like experts like yourselves, get caught up into this. So how do we make sure that the public doesn't fall into the same trap? What are your thoughts?
I think it actually starts from feasibility of making a STO for this or that company. I consider that it is reasonable to conduct it either if you make it as an alternative to IPO, and so the company like in the real world and has already some traction. It's not a seed stage company. It's maybe like Series B, Series C, or later stage company, which has revenues and just wants to tokenize its shares. This way, I think it's a good way to conduct an STO instead of IPO, because it's much easier and cheaper. Or, for example, in case of tokenization of real estate. And as well, a lot of companies, some companies are not really scams, but they just have like some big ideas, but they don't know how to implement them into real life and how it actually works. And so just a lot of companies fail. And initially, they maybe didn't have intention to scam anybody. So, for example, it's not reasonable for a seed stage or Series A stage company to go for STO, because it requires, first of all, much more funds for building infrastructure for STO and etc. and to hold it. And as well as for STOs, this space is much more regulated, so it prevents us from scams.
Sure. So this is like basically it's the age-old problem, right? It's sort of people using a blockchain or sort of using something when they don't actually need it, and they just end up creating their own trap. So I'm gonna throw out an argument here, or maybe a possible solution. This is not something I've researched. This is just like something which just came to mind while we were discussing this problem. So we mentioned that we need to sort of find a way to ensure that strategic investors or the right investors have actually invested in your project, right? What if sort of any STO company would take on investment, its initial founding investment, not in fiat, but purely in crypto? And within that crypto transaction, let's take like Bitcoin. Let's say that somebody invests in your token fund in Bitcoin. And within the transaction note, when they transfer their BTC to your BTC as a fund, they would enter their name, for example, Vitalik Buterin. That in itself is going to make the news. And if it's not true that Vitalik would have invested in a token, then he's going to call it out and he's going to say something. But ultimately, the fact that transfer has been made would be entirely transparent, shown on a blockchain, and irrefutable. What do you think, Jenny? What are your thoughts? Am I talking bullshit, or is it a good idea?
And then it makes sense. Like you have some like professionals, like really, like Vitalik, the best in the industry invested in you. That is really convincing. Like if some projects are backed up by Vitalik, I will probably invest in. But I think for STO, I'm still not very sure. I want to wait until this whole thing got matured first before I set foot in this. Like just take the DeFi example again. Like in this July, it's still a very messed up market. Like anyone can get on the Uniswap and do the DeFi thing. And so a lot of people got scammed. So I think before the whole thing got clear, the regulation came out, I would not consider like trying any STO thing. And just like a good project, even if it's not with a blockchain, is still a good project. We should see the business model behind it,
Sure.
not the technology. The good business model without blockchain is still a good business. Like Tesla, without blockchain is still a very good company. But if a shit project plus blockchain or plus STO is still a shit project,
Yep.
it still got shit coins. So I will investigate on the business model instead of like see what kind of like the method, like how they respond and what kind of like the words we don't understand they use. So I'll dig into the business model, whether the physics makes
So
sense.
basically, like if we had to sort of put this in layman terms, you don't want to be like you want to be Neil Armstrong, right? You don't want to be the first dog in space. You want the dog to have gone to space, died, did its thing, and then you want to be the person that lands on the moon, which is a fantastic tactic. I can't refute this.
Yes.
I'm just clarifying this here. Artem, how about you? Do you want to be the dog or do you want to be the man? What's your take?
Actually, I guess this game, when you're just promoting and showing these transactions and promoting that some, like popular people already invest their funds and money to your project, this game is definitely works, and it works for a long time. The only thing that you never know what happens in reality, like on the backstage, because it could be just simply manipulated. And the people just simply, like give money or provoke them to invest. And because they will be the first one, they will just get returns from like further investments. That's it. So they will just, like start selling their tokens or shares, whatever. And this game like always works, but it really needs to be, like you really need to check it out. If is it true or is it manipulated? So. This is
pump and dump city, basically.
Yeah, this is just a money game, and as Jenny told previously, if it's shitty project, it will be shitty projects, no matter how like how much money they put into the marketing, and like do the STO or just ICO or whatever. And if the project is really good, they just won't start this money game, because they will just like usually such entrepreneurs who just like believe in an idea and find the right technology and what they want to bring to the masses, they just continue developing, and they don't really like think over how to attract a lot of money and how to like build this money game to attract more and more. They just continue developing their product and finding the right end customer and just starting like to get in some traction and building some revenue streams. That's what they're usually doing. So you just need, like to make your due diligence on the company, just to take a deeper look and see what is the behavior this or those founder has, and afterwards you will probably understand.
Absolutely, but I mean, like you touched on something again, like, and this is a sort of standard problem, I'd say, in the blockchain space, which is you should do due diligence. Absolutely, don't get me wrong, and I think this is something that most people should do. But if the experts are in a position where they can be fooled, and Jenny, I'm not sort of rubbing salt in sore wounds here. This is like a common thing across the industry. It's not an isolated case, right? So the solution here is, or the issue is that we need to find a common problem to be able to address that said investors have actually invested in this project. Now, blockchain STOs are built on an underlying blockchain, which is all about transparency. So the fact that I think we haven't found the solution yet is a little bit of a problem. Anna, what are your thoughts on this issue? Do you see any way that STOs can market their token while proving that said investor has actually given the money? Is there a framework in your head?
So generally, for me, it looks like it works the same way as in, for example, traditional venture capital funding. For example, when this or that prominent fund invest into this project, others funds take a deeper look into it and jump into investment round as well. And as for blockchain, we should as well check who the investor is, because a lot of investors, they won't just say that they invested into scam because they value their reputation and their credibility and how they appear in public. Of course, in blockchain space, you can see a number of some people who are quite public speakers, etc., and they're advisors of plenty projects. And then you may think like probably those projects are not that good, because first it's impossible to advise like really in a good way that many projects, and maybe they just pay to this like so-called advisor investor like a bunch of money just to be a face of the project, and then you just should doubt the credibility of that investor.
Absolutely. And I mean, with that in mind, actually, that, by the way, to anybody in the audience, and like Anna, I think just touched on something amazing, which is absolutely, like, if you're advising 15 different companies, I'm not saying it can't be done, but if you're advising them in crypto, chances are you're not really advising that. That's the sort of diplomatic way to put it, right? I mean, I'll let you guys fill in the gaps. But moving on, I think we have time for one or two more quick questions. Somebody once said to me, or I was on a panel once, and we had this conversation about blockchain and AI, and we spoke about when these technologies will actually become somewhat useful in the world, and when there'll be actual use cases. Because as far as blockchain goes, STOs included, right? Use cases are the most difficult thing to come. This person once told me, they said, listen, in the best possible scenario, or rather in 90% of cases, blockchain will not solve the problem. It absolutely won't, because it's very bad at doing very many things and very good at doing very few things. Blockchain will only be useful, only truly be useful, when you don't have to mention the fact that you're using blockchain, right? So the same thing applies with AI. When somebody sells you a Google Home, or someone sells you an Alexa, no one tells you, hey guys, buy this AI, it's really cool, it's great. They're like, no, if you want to set timers in your kitchen, Google Home's great. If you want to play music, you use Google Home, and you want to control all this thing with your voice. That's what you use Google Home for. It's not marketed as an AI tool. It's marketed as an assistant tool. So with the same reasoning, how do you guys feel about the marketing of STOs? Do you feel like you should market them as STO projects, or do you feel as though there's some other kind of added value which really makes an STO shine? Artem.
Yeah, actually, I believe the marketing should be really simple, and the approach should be also really simple, because you don't need to understand people how Google works, yeah, how the search engine works. You don't sell in them like this kind of like technology, because no one just understands it, yeah, the like biggest part of the world. But if you just show them the results and show them like, okay guys, in a few clicks you can just find whatever you want in the whole internet, then it makes sense, yeah, and then people just like it and pay for money for that. So the approach should be really simple, I believe, and you just need to just like highlight the advantages of the STO and show how it could be like why it's better. So for example, if we are talking about security tokens, then it goes that it will be much more compliant. It will be like the investors here will be much more reputable, yeah, and there will be much more institutional. Because for example, if you are comparing to utility, in this market, the biggest part of people, they are just they are just gamblers, and they wanted to speculate and just earn like quick money. So they're totally fine with it. They don't care about the project itself. They just looking into the graphics, into the charts, and see like if the price goes down, if there is liquidity, and if they can earn some money here just while trading. So they don't really care about the company, about the team, whatever. Yeah, they just, like looking at the numbers. So they don't care about what is the name of this like token or coin, whatever. Yeah, but in the STO, it's totally another game. Yeah, it just more, like looks like in a classical market with the VC funds, with the like real companies where you need to make a good due diligence, check the people, and invest in the long term, not short term. Yeah, so that's probably the main difference. And I believe that you need just to highlight what kind of like advantages you have here in this journey while you invest in the securities, and just target the proper audience, because you don't need to target gamblers from crypto because they won't be interested in it. They wanted to like short and earn just money. That's it. It's they're not the target audience of these projects. That's it.
So I think you just kind of touched on a great way to close this, and that's the highlight there. Is you should sort of a great factor of any kind of marketing plan is to be able to convey a very complex message in a very, very few amount of words, because people have a short attention span, right? At the end of the day, myself included. I'm a little ADHD kid, basically. So I'll leave you guys with a final question. I'm going to ask this question to each of you, and then we'll end the round. Is if you had to market an STO, if you had to convince an investor why they should invest in an STO versus a traditional security in one sentence, what would that sentence be? We'll start with you, Artem.
Give me a minute to think.
Take some time. Anyone have any answers? Anna, Jenny?
I'll say don't trust human, trust the system. Like in traditional market, like you got a lot of people in the middle, like a lot of people. When there's a lot of people in the middle, there are problems. You can get scammed. But with STO, they are all proceed on blockchain. It's the technology running the whole thing. So I would say in one sentence, don't trust human,
don't trust human, don't
technology.
Trust technology. Anna, how about you?
Quicker process facilitated cheaper investment.
Quick process that facilitates cheaper investment.
No, quick process, facilitated cheaper investment.
Fair enough. I asked for a sentence. You included a comma. We'll let that fly. That's fine. Bit sneaky, but we'll let that fly. Don't worry. Artem, how about yourself?
Yeah, I probably will say that digitalization is the future. So you need to make another step forward.
Short and sweet. That's why he's the marketing guy. Digitalization is the future. I love it. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here. It was lovely to meet all of you. Thank you to the audience for taking the time to listen to us. And thank you, Boris, for having me. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, everyone, for the panel. The discussion was fascinating, and we got so many insights about the importance of being specific in communication, speaking not about like the STO stuff and the benefits related to the technology, but benefits related to the project and what people actually get. Speaking not in complex terms, but simple solutions. Importance of having this strong underlying project. This one is really crucial to get your marketing right. The interesting discussion on actually the role of PR and can the media be as important as they were, given that publications can be bought. So I really thank you for these great insights and great discussion from my side. I would add, if you allow me, we have a few minutes before the next speaker joins in, is that, and I think that very often projects don't have to distinguish between their marketing as a product and service and marketing as an investment, because people who trust you the most are actually people who already use your product and find value in you. And especially if you're a B2C company and you have already thousands or dozens of thousands of users, these are your first investors and first evangelists. And I suppose that underestimated channel of marketing many SEO projects is actually their existing customers. And one of the reasons why it is underestimated is precisely the fact that many projects do STO or ISO at too early stage when they don't have customers yet. But when the market evolves, I hope we will see more projects, more mature projects that do already have customer base, and thus doing STO will be easier for them. Like if you're a new project and you just launch, you have to spend 10% or of target raise to just give your money if no one knows you. But if you're already existing on the market and you have your audience, that reaching them with an investment offer is much easier, I would say. What are your thoughts on that? If I'm not boring you too much.
I'll jump in here actually, if you don't mind, because I feel like I've been asking the questions all night. I'll do a little bit of answering. I'd say that the biggest problems that I see with an STO at the moment is, besides the sort of lack of legislation, which I think Jenny very rightly pointed, is that nobody, from what I've seen, has been able to sort of position some real USP, some real value add that an STO offers. And I think the reason why that's the case is because of the structure that most STO companies take. So most companies tend to link themselves up with some kind of local authority, and then create a kind of digital share transaction between the ownership of shares and in real time. And that besides being a really hefty and lumpy process, again, it doesn't really add a whole lot of value, I'd say, because to get there, like, it sounds all well and good, but the road to get there is very hard for a government to be able to tell you, hey, yeah, plug into our infrastructure. We've never met you before, right? So I think the solution is for the company itself, for the STO exchange itself, maybe to have sub-funds, and each fund would own the asset, like the fund would own the building, and then you would trade shares of that building on the exchange. But ultimately, from a governmental perspective, it doesn't really matter. And the result of that is that you can have transparency, and you can have the quick trade of digital assets, and you can have all the benefits that an STO allows for without any of the hassle. And that's why I think STOs haven't caught on yet, because that I feel is the only way to add value. What do you guys think?
I would say STO is just a tool. You have to get this business model right and correct. Like the moderator said, you get your audience, you get those users first, and you got everything ready. People already have the demand, and then you use this tool to like make it easier to make this business like to a higher level. It's not like for most of the projects now, they just want to get into the hype of blockchain. So they see this tool first, and then they think of like, oh, what should I do? What kind of business should I put into this tool? Which is like not the right order.
I agree with about mentioned, and that companies should refer to STO when they're at later stages and they already have market traction and known, and because it's first of all quite costly to conduct an STO, and yeah, it's just a tool, and it's and as well, if you're early stage company, you won't go for IPOs. The same with STO. If you're too early on the market, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, actually, it works in the same way in any section of the world, you know, like in any area, because it doesn't matter if it's blockchain or real estate or whatever. If you want to make business, you just need to make this business. You don't need to to try to find a way how to just make like quick money, you know, because there's no way.
Don't sell the hype, basically, in summary. And I'll add to that, actually, again, for anyone in the audience, just while the sort of next guests are coming on. There's a fantastic podcast out there. It's not mine, but it's a fantastic podcast by a gentleman named Anthony Day. And
Jean, sorry for interrupting you. We do already have the next speaker, and it's just time for the next speech, so I have to.
Sure, I'll leave you guys to it then. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you
Have
for
a good one.
panel. Have a nice day.
My pleasure. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.